Last month, one of my clients was spending $40,000 a month on Facebook ads. They were sending all that traffic to their sales page. Beautiful page, good copy, solid offer. Conversion rate, 0.8%. We built an advertorial. Same traffic source, same audience, same offer. After several rounds of testing, the conversion rate jumped to 2.3%. That's almost triple. What changed? We stopped looking like we were selling. Now, before you think this is about being sneaky or deceptive, let me be clear. This is about meeting people where they are psychologically. When someone clicks an ad on Facebook, they're not in buying mode, they're in scrolling mode, content consumption mode. And when they land on something that screams, "I'm trying to sell you something," their brain puts up walls immediately. Advertorials solve this problem, but not the way most people think. This isn't about writing a long sales page and calling it an advertorial. It's about understanding how the four supplement buying forces sequence differently when you're disguised as content instead of obviously selling. If your traffic source is interruption-based, your landing page needs to feel like a continuation of the ad, not disruption. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. So first, we need to understand the physics of attention. There's a fundamental difference between how people interact with sales pages versus how they interact with advertorials. And it starts with where the traffic is coming from. When someone searches Google for best joint supplement for arthritis, they're in buying mode. They're actively looking for a solution. They're ready to evaluate products. You send that person to a sales page? Perfect. That's the right match. But when someone is scrolling Facebook looking at pictures of their friend's vacation and an ad appears in their feed, they're not in buying mode. They're in consumption mode, content mode. They click because something caught their attention, a headline, an image, a claim, but they're not ready to buy. They're not even ready to be sold to. And here's what happens when that person lands on a traditional sales page. The design language screams advertisement, big headline, product images, testimonial boxes, buy buttons. Their brain recognizes the pattern instantly. Oh, this is trying to sell me something. And the psychological resistance is immediate and unconscious. They might stay for a few seconds, scan the headline, maybe scroll once, but mostly they bounce. Bounce rates on native traffic to sales pages are typically 60% to 80%. That means 6 to 8 out of every 10 people you paid to click are gone in seconds. And it's not because your product is bad. It's not because your offer is weak. It's because the format is wrong for the frame of mind they're in. This is the cost of mismatched format. You're wasting ad spend on traffic that bounces before they even read a full paragraph. The algorithms on Facebook and native platforms notice this. Poor engagement, high bounce rate. They start charging you more. Your cost per 1,000 impressions goes up. And you can't scale because the economics don't work. Now, here's the misconception I hear all the time. Advertorials are sketchy. Or advertorials are just those fake news things. Look, there are bad advertorials out there, ones that try to trick people into thinking they're reading actual news when they're not. That's not what I'm talking about. An advertorial is simply a content format optimized for interrupted attention. It's editorial in style. It provides value. It educates. And yes, it also sells, but it sells through the content, not despite it. And here's the thing people miss about advertorials and supplements. The four buying forces still drive every decision: desire, hope, trust, and belief. But they activate through story and education instead of through direct persuasion. That's the difference. Let me explain what makes something an advertorial versus a sales page. It's not just about length. I've seen 800-word advertorials and 5,000-word sales pages. And it's not just about design, though design matters. It's about the narrative contract. When someone clicks on content, they expect information. They expect to learn something. They expect editorial value. Advertorials honor that contract. You give them the information they came for. You educate them. You help them understand something they didn't know before. And within that education, you gradually shift toward commercial intent. The key is you're selling through the education and the story, not selling instead of it. Why does this work specifically for supplements? Because supplement buyers are researchers. They consume tons of content, articles, videos, studies, forum posts. They don't just see an ad and buy. They investigate, they learn, they compare, and they trust editorial sources more than branded sources. They trust the article more than the advertisement. So when you package your sales message as an article, as a piece of content, it gets past their defenses. Not because you're tricking them, but because you're meeting them in the format they're already consuming and trusting. Now, let me show you the 4 types of advertorials that work for supplements. Each one has a different structure, different voice, different use case. The first format is what I call the investigation or discovery story. This is structured like a piece of investigative journalism. Someone, usually a health journalist or researcher, investigates a problem and discovers a surprising solution. The headline might be something like, "New research reveals why 67% of joint supplements don't work." That sounds like news. It sounds like information. When they start reading, it opens with exposition. For the past 6 months, I've been investigating why so many people take joint supplements and see no results. What I discovered was shocking. You're framing yourself as an investigator, not a marketer. Then you walk through the problem. What's really causing joint pain? Why do most supplements fail? This is where you introduce your unique mechanism, but you introduce it as something you discovered through research. What I found in a 2019 study published in the Journal of Orthopedic Research changed everything I thought I knew about joint health. Then you explain the mechanism, MMP13, cartilage breakdown, whatever your unique mechanism is. And the product? The product gets revealed as what the research led me to. After understanding this, I started looking for supplements that actually addressed MMP13. There are only a handful. The one that kept coming up in my research was, see how that works? The product is the natural conclusion of the investigation. This format works best for complex mechanisms, science-heavy supplements, things that require explanation. Now let's talk about how the 4 forces sequence in this format. Desire gets built through the problem exposition. You're showing them the investigative findings, the data, the shocking truth about why they're struggling. Hope gets created through the discovery of the research and the mechanism. Here's what I found that changes everything. Trust comes from the editorial voice. You've established yourself as an investigator, not a salesperson. So when you eventually mention a product, the credibility you built through the content transfers to the product. And belief comes from, this is what the science says. It's not about you believing in yourself. It's about trusting the research. That removes personal risk. The second format is the personal transformation story. This is first-person narrative, someone who had the problem and solved it. The opening might be, I'm 54 and I thought my joint pain was just part of getting older. Immediately, if you're 54 with joint pain, you're identifying with this person. Then they walk through their struggle, the things they tried, the failures, the frustration. I tried glucosamine, I tried turmeric, I tried physical therapy, nothing worked. This is building desire through identification. You're feeling their problem because it's your problem. Then comes the turning point, the discovery moment. Then a friend told me about some research she'd come across. I was skeptical, but I looked into it. Hope enters here. There's a new possibility, a mechanism they haven't tried. Then the transformation. Within 3 weeks, I noticed a difference. Within 2 months, I was hiking again, and the product gets revealed as what finally worked for me. The supplement I found that contained these specific compounds is called This format works best for emotional outcomes, identity-based benefits, things where personal story creates connection. The 4 forces here sequence through identification. Desire builds because you see yourself in the narrator's struggle. Hope builds through their discovery moment. If they found something that worked, maybe you can too. Trust builds through vulnerability and honesty. This person is sharing their real experience. That creates connection. Belief shifts because if it worked for someone like me, maybe it will work for me. The third format is the expert report or doctor expose. This is written from the voice of a medical professional. The opening establishes authority immediately. Cardiologist warns about this common mineral deficiency behind most heart problems. Then you go into clinical explanation. What's really happening in the body? What is mainstream medicine missing? In my 20 years of practice, I've seen thousands of patients with heart issues, and I kept noticing the same pattern, low magnesium levels, but when I'd mention this to colleagues, they'd dismiss it. You're positioning the doctor as someone who sees what others miss. Then you explain why conventional treatments fail. Statins don't address the underlying mineral deficiency. They manage cholesterol, but they don't fix the root cause. This builds desire through education about the hidden danger they didn't know about. Hope comes through the expert's alternative approach. That's when I started recommending a specific form of magnesium to my patients. The results were remarkable. And the product gets positioned as a clinical recommendation. The supplement I recommend to my patients contains magnesium glycinate, which is the most bioavailable form. This format works best when medical credibility matters, when you have a doctor or health professional who can lend authority, when the audience is more sophisticated. The 4 forces here work through professional authority. Desire builds through education about a hidden problem. Hope builds through the expert's alternative solution. Trust comes from professional credentials. If a cardiologist is saying this, it must be legitimate. Belief comes from expert endorsement. The doctor is giving you permission to try this. The 4th format is the listicle education format. This is softer, more content-heavy, less aggressive on the sell. The headline might be 7 things your doctor doesn't know about gut health. Each point in the list provides actual value, real tips, real information. Number 1, your gut bacteria changes completely every 3 days based on what you eat. Number 2, antibiotics can disrupt your gut for up to 6 months after you stop taking them. You're giving them useful information. They're learning things. And somewhere in the middle, maybe point 5, you introduce your product. Number 5, most probiotic supplements don't survive stomach acid, but there's a new delivery method using something called delayed release capsules that protects the bacteria until they reach your intestine. And then you might mention the supplement I found that uses this technology but you keep going. You give them more tips, more value. This format works best for awareness building, top of funnel, SEO content. The 4 forces here are more distributed. Desire gets amplified gradually through multiple angles. Each point in the list touches a different aspect of the problem. Hope is spread across multiple solutions. Your product is one of them, not the only one. Trust builds through the educational value. You're helping them whether they buy or not. Belief shifts because trying one thing feels low risk. It's just one tip among 7. Now let's talk about the critical structural differences between advertorials and sales pages. First, product reveal timing. On a sales page, you introduce the product about 40% to 50% of the way through. On an advertorial, the product doesn't appear until 60% to 80% through the content. Why? Because you need more narrative runway. You need to build the context, establish the story. create the education. If you reveal the product too early, it breaks the editorial frame. It becomes obvious you're selling and the trust drops. And the transition phrase matters. You can't just suddenly start talking about your product. It has to be story justified. That's when I discovered, or the research led me to, or after trying everything, I finally found the product introduction has to feel like a natural part of the narrative. Second major difference is tone and voice. A sales page is confident, promotional, benefit-focused. This revolutionary formula will transform your joint health in just 30 days. An advertorial is curious, educational, discovery-focused. What I found in my research surprised me. There's a specific enzyme most people have never heard of that's responsible for cartilage breakdown. You're not selling, you're sharing what you found. Even when you're talking about the product, you maintain that investigative or educational tone. Here's what surprised me about this supplement instead of this revolutionary formula. See the difference? Third difference is how trust builds. On a sales page, the sequence is product credibility, then third-party validation, then social proof. You introduce the product, you prove it works through science, then you add doctor endorsements, then testimonials. On an advertorial, the sequence is author credibility, then research credibility, then product credibility. The content itself is the first trust signal. If the article is valuable, independent of whether they buy anything, trust is high. You're establishing yourself as credible through the quality of the information. Then you're establishing the research as credible. The studies, the mechanism, the science. Only then does the product enter. And it enters as an extension of that credibility. Based on this research, I looked for supplements that contained these specific compounds. The product inherits the trust you built through the content. Fourth difference is call to action strategy. Sales pages have direct, repeated, urgent calls to action. Click here to order now. Add to cart. Claim your discount before midnight. Multiple buttons, urgency, scarcity. Advertorials have soft, embedded, helpful calls to action. If you want to try what worked for me, here's where I get it. Or the supplement I found that contains these compounds is called X. You can find it here. The link feels like a reference, not a pitch. You might mention there's a current promotion. I noticed they're running a discount right now. But you're not hard selling it, and you mention the guarantee casually. They have a 90-day guarantee, so there's no risk if you want to try it. It feels helpful, like you're sharing information, not selling. Now let's talk about where advertorials win and where they lose, because this isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. Advertorials excel on certain traffic sources, Facebook and Instagram, interruption-based platforms where people are consuming content, native advertising, Outbrain, Taboola, Rev Content, places where your ad appears between articles, content discovery platforms, anywhere people are reading or watching content and your message appears. SEO and organic traffic. When people search for information, not products, basically anywhere attention is borrowed, not given. But there are traffic sources where sales pages win. Google search with high intent keywords. Buy magnesium supplement or best joint supplement for arthritis. That person is ready to evaluate products. Send them to a sales page. Email to warm lists. People who already know you, who've opted in. They don't need the editorial frame. Retargeting. People who've already visited your site, they know who you are. Affiliate traffic where the affiliate has already pre-sold them. They're coming in warm. Basically anywhere attention is given, not borrowed. Some brands use a hybrid approach. They use the advertorial as a pre-lander, a bridge page. The advertorial builds context, amplifies desire, creates hope, establishes trust. Then it links to a traditional sales page for the close. This gives you the best of both worlds: the engagement of story, the conversion optimization of a sales page. The risk is drop off between pages. Every click is a chance to lose someone. This works best when the advertorial is shorter, 1,000 to 1,500 words, just enough to warm them up. Then the sales page handles the detailed conversion work. Now let me give you the tactical breakdown of how to actually write an effective supplement advertorial. The opening is critical. First 200 words. It has to look and feel like editorial content. The headline format matters. It should be news style or curiosity driven. New study reveals why most probiotics don't work sounds like news. The gut health mistake 90% of people make is curiosity driven. Both work. Both feel editorial. Add a dateline if you want extra credibility. March 15th, 2024. Add a byline by Dr. Sarah Chen or by health investigator Mike Thompson. The first paragraph establishes the story frame. When researchers at Stanford analyzed over 200 probiotic supplements, they found something disturbing. Only 12% of the bacteria were still alive by the time they reached the intestine. Here's what they discovered. Notice what's not there. No product mention, no selling, pure setup. You're creating curiosity, you're promising information, then you move into problem exposition. This is 300 to 500 words. This is where desire gets amplified, but through education. You're explaining what people don't know about their problem. Most people think probiotics just need to have high CFU counts. More bacteria equals better results, right? Wrong. What actually matters is whether those bacteria survive stomach acid. And here's what most supplement companies don't tell you. Stomach acid kills 99% of probiotic bacteria within 30 minutes. You're using research, statistics, information they didn't know, creating those I didn't know that moments. The goal is to make them lean in because they're learning something valuable. Then comes the discovery or turning point, 200 to 300 words. This is where hope enters through mechanism. But here's what changed everything when I came across research from 2021. Or then I discovered a study that showed a completely different approach. You introduce your unique mechanism as a discovery, not as a pitch. Scientists found that by coating probiotic bacteria in a specific type of vegetable capsule, they could protect the bacteria through the stomach and release them in the intestine where they actually do their work. You're still in educational mode, explaining science, not selling anything yet. Then you move to solution introduction, 300 to 400 words. This is where the product reveal happens. But it happens naturally within the story. After learning this, I started looking for probiotics that actually used this delayed release technology. There aren't many. Most brands either don't know about it or don't want to pay for it because the capsules cost more. You're setting up scarcity through education. I found 3 supplements that used this technology. I tried all of them. The one that had the best combination of bacteria strains and the highest survival rate was, and there's your product introduction. But notice the framing. You're sharing what you found, what you tried, what worked. Then you describe the product through the lens of discovery. It contains 15 different bacteria strains, all protected by these delayed release capsules, and they actually publish their survival rate data. 97% of the bacteria survive stomach acid. You're explaining ingredients as components of the mechanism you already established, still maintaining educational tone, not sales tone. Next section is validation, 200 to 300 words. This is trust building through experience. If it's first person, I was skeptical. I've tried probiotics before, but after 2 weeks, I noticed my digestion was different, less bloating, more regular. If it's third-person investigation, the reviews from people who tried this were remarkable. Over 4,000 5-star reviews talking about the same improvements. Social proof gets woven in as evidence, not as testimonial boxes. You're describing results specifically, not hyperbolically. People reported less gas within the first week, better bowel movements by week 2, reduced bloating by week 3. Specific, believable, educational in tone. Then you close softly 100 to 200 words. The call to action feels like a helpful reference. If you're dealing with digestive issues and want to try a probiotic that actually survives to your gut, this is the one I found that uses the delayed release technology I mentioned. Include the link naturally in the sentence. They're currently running a promotion where you can get 20% off if you order 3 bottles. You mention the offer, but you don't hard sell it. And they have a 60-day guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, you can return it for a full refund. Risk reversal mentioned casually. Matter of fact, that's the structure. Now let's talk design and format. This is where a lot of advertorials fail. They look too much like sales pages. Use a blog or article layout, single column, readable font, something like Georgia or Times for body text. Generous line spacing. Make it easy to read. Images should be editorial style, not product shots, research photos, charts, graphs, author photo if it's first person. Avoid aggressive design elements. No countdown timers, no pop-ups, no bright red buttons. Your call to action can be a text link or a subtle button, but it shouldn't look like a sales page button. And this is critical. Include disclosure. This article contains affiliate links or sponsored content or advertisement. You have to disclose the commercial relationship. It's not just ethical, it's legally required. FTC guidelines apply to advertorials just like they apply to any advertising. You can share research findings, you can educate about mechanisms, but you can't make direct health claims as if you're reporting news. Studies show this ingredient may support joint health is okay. This supplement cures arthritis is not okay. Testimonials still need disclaimers. Results may vary, or these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The line is you can educate, you can inform, you can share what research says, but you can't make drug claims. You can't pretend to be unbiased news when you're being paid. Let me show you some real examples. This one uses the investigation angle. Renowned cardiologist warns about this hidden plant toxin. They make you feel the problem. They educate you about lectins. They explain the mechanism. Then they introduce the product as what Dr. Gundry developed to block lectins. The whole thing feels educational, like you're learning something. And only at the end do you realize you've been reading a sales message, but you don't feel sold to because you got value from the content. Primal Health uses the doctor discovers angle. After 30 years of practice, this doctor found the real cause of chronic inflammation. Expert report format, medical authority, clinical explanation, product positioned as clinical recommendation. Athletic Greens uses educational listicles. The 8 nutritional gaps in modern diets even healthy eaters have. Each point provides value, teaches something. Product appears in the middle as one solution to the gaps. These all work because they maintain editorial feel while selling. The transition points are smooth, natural, story justified. Now let me show you what doesn't work. Advertorials that are too obviously ads fail. If your headline is Miracle Supplement Cures Joint Pain in 7 Days, nobody believes it's editorial content. If your opening paragraph is all about your product, you've broken the contract. If your design looks like a sales page with fake article wrapper, people see through it immediately. The advertorial has to actually be valuable content. It has to educate, inform, help. If someone reads it and learns nothing, even if they don't buy, you failed. The content is the credibility. The content is the trust builder. If the content is just a thin disguise for a pitch, it doesn't work. So let me tell you why I know this works. I've built advertorial funnels for supplement brands across native platforms. for years. The data is clear. Advertorials on native traffic convert 2 to 3 times better than sending that same traffic directly to a sales page. But here's the trade-off. They often have lower average order value. Softer sell means fewer people buy multiple bottles up front, and they require more traffic volume to reach the same revenue. So the math looks like this: lower conversion rate to sale, but much lower bounce rate, higher engagement, lower cost per click because the algorithms reward engagement, more total traffic at lower cost, more people entering your funnel. Even with lower average order value, the total revenue can be higher because you're converting more of the traffic you paid for. And here's why this is supplement specific. Supplement buyers are content consumers. They read articles, they watch videos, they research, they trust editorial sources more than advertisements. They want education before they want a sales pitch. So when you give them content that educates while it sells, you're matching the format to their behavior. You're working with their buying psychology instead of fighting it. The 4 forces are still there: desire, hope, trust, belief. But they activate through story and education instead of direct persuasion. And that makes all the difference with cold traffic. So here's what I want you to do. Look at your traffic sources right now. Where are you sending interruption-based traffic directly to sales pages? Facebook, native platforms, content discovery. Those are all advertorial opportunities. Test it, build an advertorial. Use one of the 4 formats I showed you: investigation, personal story, expert report, educational listicle. Pick the one that fits your mechanism and your audience. Write it like content. Make it valuable. Actually teach something. Then naturally introduce your product as the solution you discovered. Soft close, helpful tone, link as reference, and watch what happens to your conversion rate. I've seen this transform supplement funnels. Brands that couldn't make native traffic work suddenly scaling profitably. Not because their product changed, not because their offer changed, because the format matched the frame of mind their traffic was in. That's the advertorial formula. Content that sells, education that converts, and the 4 supplement buying forces working through story instead of pitch.